Kia ora. This is a review of The Cat in the Hat. So, The Cat in the Hat is a children's book. It's got drawings in it, and it's by Dr. Seuss. It's a classic. So, kind of tipping my hand on what I think about this book, but it is one of those books that stands up to the test of time and holds up to multiple readings. So, it really takes the simplest parts of language and then creates like a relatively entertaining story with a lot of absurdities and surrealism involved. Um, a lot of the surrealism really comes from the drawings, but there is a degree of absurd sort of humor in this book, with a lot of relatively nonsensical scenarios, but they follow quite closely to sort of like a kid kind of logic where things, there's no non sequiturs or anything like that, but the actual like what's happening is very like unrealistic if you were to take it into a very literal sense. The language used is a lot of basically the simplest words of the English language. There is one exception where they use a common word, lit, but they don't use it. Dr. Seuss doesn't use it in a conventional manner. So there is one case where he uses a word that may be a common word, but in a very uncommon manner. And in that sense, it it breaks your expectations occasionally of how language is supposed to work, but in a very like logical rules based way. The rhyming scheme is very simple, and it's got a nice meter to it. I'm not a linguist, or like study English, so I don't know the exact meter used in the Cat in the Hat, but it's very like sing song readable, and you can almost predict what the next word will be in a sentence based on the previous ones and the previous lines. So it is in sort of a form of poetry. Anyway, The Cat in the Hat, I recommend it. I think it is a very good, accessible book, and it leads towards sort of like a kind of like a modernist literary like canon. So it's sort of in a slightly postmodern style, but leaning more towards harkening back to the modernists like Joyce and Virginia Woolf than to the postmodernists like Thomas Pynchon and stuff like that. Anyway, it is definitely got its place in the English canon, and yeah, if you have a young child, you should read it. If you're just want some kind of easy but cerebral read, it's also worth picking up. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not too weird to buy this book at a bookstore because, I mean, any person of any age can get this book, and you could sort of defense it by saying, "Oh, I'm buying it for a child or a younger sibling or something like that." So it's worth picking up. It's quite easily accessible, and yeah, I thought it was a very good read. It definitely is a stepping stone towards reading works like Finnegan's Wake. Cat in the Hat very much leans into playing around with language, and in, like I've already explained, in that modernist context of sort of experimentation with language. And yeah, it's got some philosophical questions like what would you do uh, at the end, where there is no correct answer, but the open endedness of the question that this book leaves you with really invites you to explore the text in a new light that you might not have and a new mode of thinking that when you first encounter it, you might not have thought of. It's also designed to be read, so be spoken out loud, but also to read the words as well. So yeah. Anyway, that's my review. I give it 5 stars with a seal of recommendation. All right, see you in the next video. Cheers.